right. What constitutes hate speech? One would ask that kind of question. And certainly it could sound academic, but it's an everyday question. What really constitutes hate speech? Where do you draw the line between the right to freedom of expression and the abuse of that right?
Absolutely. And why is fake news on the rise, and how has the social media contributed to this trend? In August of 2017, the federal government declared that hate speech will be treated as an act of terrorism, and accused persons will be charged under the Terrorism Act of 2011. Now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo made that declaration while he was acting president. Now, the spread of hate speech and fake news is alleged to have skyrocketed with the use of social media. Yeah,
Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says a combination of hate speech and fake news is a threat to the peace, security, and the corporate existence of any country, and Nigeria is not exception. According to the minister, hate speech and fake news were root causes of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Right. We remember the impact of hate speech.
Led to the death of about 800,000 people. Well, let's listen to the views of Nigerians on social media, fake news and hate speech in an election season.
In this age, we discovered that social media actually play a vital role, like dissemination of information. So if wrong information are put outside there, there's a way that can actually affect our election and campaign. So propaganda should be avoided, and proper information should be put outside there.
They're the first, to spread such news, and that's why they are quick to spread news, and if eventually it could become a fake news.
Most of our people in Nigeria now, they don't think. They just look, once they see the news, for them to have more followers, they just want to spread it out there. They just copy and paste. That's what they do. So it's spreading a wrong, and it's destroying a lot of people. So people are now negatively minded now. They don't spread good news. All they do is spread fake news.
Very well said there. I mean,
exactly. Because the point there is, a lot of people would say it is the news that is controversial that is actually news, or it is news that is bad that is actually news. But it depends on where anyone sees it. Yeah. Joining us to discuss the issue of hate speech and fake news is the Deputy Provost, Nigeria Institute of Journalism, Dr. Jide Johnson. It's good to have you join us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Good morning.
Good morning to our viewers at home.
All right.
Good to have
now, an international journalism center was saying at the time that the use of the word or the term fake news does not really in its definition cover what we refer to as fake news, really.
If it's fake, it's not news. If it's fake, it's not news.
All right.
Because the word fake has taken away the news element.
Okay. So it's not original.
It's not original. News is accurate reportage of events or issues that happen within the society. Yeah. And so if it's fake, it's not news. I like to take the term that the professor of Annenberg School of Public Policy in University of Pennsylvania, Professor Kathleen Hall Jamieson, said in an interview on BBC that we should call it viral deception and not fake news, that we should call it viral deception, because this deception has a consequential effect. The people spreading this news want to achieve an aim, and the aim is to confuse rather than to clarify. So we shouldn't, because if it is fake, it's not news. What is news is news. What is fake is fake. So I think we shouldn't join in the highlighting of this issue, calling, because news is news. If it is fake, it's not news. And media are not meant to report what is fake. We are meant to report what is news, the real issues, accurate reportage of events that happen in the society.
Well, you put me in a very difficult situation right now, because the next question then would be, I mean, how do you draw the line between constitutionally guaranteed freedom of speech and the right, you know,
the abuse of the right,
or the abuse of that right?
No, you see, which takes us to the issue of hate speech, fundamental human rights of freedom of expression, and the rest of it. I think we all have a role to play in this, and we play identity politics. From marketing point of view, from political point of view. We describe people based on race, based on gender, based on religion, and all of these things. And if we describe people, we use that in our news coverage, we use that in the description of people, we use that in profiling people. However, a line must be drawn. When you do that, when you attack someone on the basis of his religion, when you attack someone on the basis of his race, group, then it has moved from the freedom of expression to hate speech. However, hate speech is not something which is new. It's just that we have just highlighted it. And I think our extant laws have taken care of that. If I use any statement or any written document to malign, destroy you as an individual, as a group, the laws of libel and slander have taken care of that. However, we saw something that happened in 2016 with the effect of what happened in the United States concerning the election, whereby it's full of a lot of deception and a lot of hate speeches where people are rallying their base. We are appealing to emotions, we are appealing to gender, we are appealing to, and the wave of populism across the world. In United States of America, in Russia, in Turkey, in France. So that wave of populism, whereby people are playing on identity politics. Because when you play identity politics, you are susceptible to promoting hate speeches because you emphasize your own particular group,
the superiority of one section against the other,
above your own group. When we begin to describe people, for example, let's take the issue of the herdsman farmer crisis. Now, when you describe an herdsman as a Fulani herdsman, it's not only Fulani that does that. Exactly. Are you getting my point? You have never heard the term Ijo fisherman or Igbo traders. Are you getting my point? And so when we play this identity, we are susceptible to playing into the trap of hate speeches.
But what do you think is the basis for this, or fundamental? I mean, when you hear Donald Trump, you know, make fake news so popular, you know what I mean? And you're going to ask, is it as a result of ignorance? Obviously, you cannot say that such people are ignorant. And like you said, there is an end in sight. There is, you know, I mean, there's a plan underneath spreading of fake news and using hate speech. Thank you. Motive.
You know, our responsibility as the fourth estate of the realm is to hold government accountable. And for political
You're talking about the journalism profession
I'm going
now.
somewhere.
Okay.
Now, it's our responsibility is to hold government accountable. Government, on its part, tends to play to the gallery most of the time in terms of their policy, in terms of their programs, in terms of what they've done or what they are intending to do for people. So our responsibility is to fact-check. Fact-check and gatekeep what should come into the public domain and what should not come into the public domain. When mainstream media begins to depend on alternative media sources, such as Twitter, such as bloggers, as the sources of their major content, then we have that problem, because our responsibility is to fact check. What you have said, is it the truth or not? If it's not the truth, it shouldn't get airtime on our airwaves. It shouldn't get spaces on the pages of newspapers.
And this is in spite of the fact that the mainstream journalism profession, the conventional, traditional journalism that we know, is highly regulated. And then there is the issue of how do you now regulate social media, for example? I mean, there were only not too long ago.
The mainstream media is highly regulated. But how do you separate facts
from fiction?
Are you getting my point? How do you separate news from opinion? Are you with me? When we editorialize, it's your opinion. It's not news. And we have a lot of editorializing program
going on.
Are you getting my point? And how do we solve this problem? Is the H-long value, which is balance. You get two sides to the story. Allow the people to make their judgment. Are you getting my point? Allow the people to make their judgment. Okay, there is an issue going on. For example, we're having the political campaign going on. Now, there will be a lot of facts and figures thrown into the public domain. Now, are these facts, are they truth? Can they be checked to be valid, or are they invalid? Now, the only way we can do that is to have fact-checking, one. Two, is to also have people that have divergent opinion to cover the issue so that people can come to a sense of judgment as to
and
what
draw
is
their
right,
own conclusions
as to what is wrong, and that's the challenge for you and I, because
all right,
we have
so,
the whole responsibility to play.
If we come to the issue, like he was talking about, the issue of fake news has been popularized by the U.S. President Donald Trump, and it has become a phenomenon now until international media are coming to say, no, really, the concept of fake news doesn't really cover what is like we started. But if we take it as it is, and the issue of hate speech, is the media more culpable in peddling this or ensuring that this sustains, or maybe the person who is involved? Who should be blamed here?
I think that is the people that are involved, because now the emergence of new media and social media has taken the power from you and I. And William Dutton of the British Internet Institute, as far as 2009, said the media is the fourth estate of the realm, but social media is now the fifth estate of the realm. Now the power to shape public discourse does not belong to
the traditional media.
To the traditional media, it now belongs to the people. And I've told you that we have extant laws, the laws of libel, the laws of slander, to take care of this. Hate speeches, fake news, which we call yellow journalism in those days, has been part and parcel. It's just new concept that we developed to represent some of the issues and some of the problems we have been facing since the advent of journalism as a profession in the world. So the laws of the land can take care of that, but the responsibility lies with the individual. And if we use the law of the land to prosecute anyone that does that, I think we won't have any problem concerning that. I recall last week that in Ekiti State, a judge sentenced a man to 2 years imprisonment for exposing the nude picture of an ex-lover who he threatened to not to quit. If she quits, he's going to. So the judge sentenced into 2 years imprisonment, a 42-year-old man. So we have laws that can take care of that. But when you play identity politics, you are susceptible to encouraging your members to doing hate speeches, and that's what we are all playing.
So now that we're moving into we are in the election season. Recall in 2015, there were attempts to, bring all the political gladiators to the table to sign a peace accord, and all of that to ensure that, as far as it was within their control, they would do what is gentlemanly, not to heat up the polity. President Buhari, just in the last 24 hours or so, actually called on his colleagues in fellow political gladiators not to heat up the system. And it's very instructive what Lai Mohammed said not too long ago, that look, the journalism, engineering, medicine, the doctor, the architect and all of that, we cannot function if we set the nation ablaze. Very, very key message there. But is that message even getting across the way that it should?
I think that
to the purveyors of
fake news and all that. Your campaign materials. For example, NBC has a guideline which you and I should cover the election. APCON has the guideline which you should design your campaign materials. And our appeal, the only way we can solve this problem is for us not to play identity politics. To play identity politics that, you appeal to people based on their race, you appeal to them based on their gender, you appeal to them based on where they come from. We are all Nigerians. The sun shines on every one of us, regardless of wherever you are from. Whatever policies of government does not know whether you are from the northern part or you are from the southern part or from your eastern part. And I think it's an appeal. If the leaders, the followership, look at the leaders. If the leadership does not play identity politics, the followership will not play into that. If the leader sets the right agenda as to what should be the manner and the approach of conduct in the electionary campaign, I think the followership we follow suit.
All right. In 2015, we saw how charged the political atmosphere was, and right now we're talking about trying to improve so that we don't go down the same road. Yeah. From what you see right now, with all the political, even though campaigns just started, but do you foresee that it could be an improvement of 2015, or maybe things are still going to be the same?
By this time, if you have, in thinking in retrospect, if you look at 2015, by this time the polity was already hot up. Yeah. Are you with me? But now you see relatively peaceful atmosphere. You see, if you go online 2015, you see the kind of virality that people are exchanging insult and whatever. You see, there's a measure of modicum, and people are realizing that between A and B, there's no difference. The political class in Nigeria are the same. It's just 6.5 in a dozen. It's two sides of a coin, and you can't kill yourself for the political class. They always meet. I posted a tweet yesterday. Now that, look, for example, if you follow the trend in terms of the exchanges between the Senate president and the APC chairman, and you would think that when they see one another,
they will
shook
hands.
And even they were smiling. You know what you will have done for. So my appeal is to the political class. Their statement and their speeches can either eat up the polity or can either bring a peaceful atmosphere. You know, someone said words are powerful. What can cause us to love and can cause us to hate.
That's true. Yeah,
and so it depends on how responsible and how do we use words concerning that. And I think that we should focus on issues and not personality. Now, I tell you this, the aspect in our industry. You know how we describe ourselves, we don't practice the old-fashioned journalism again. Someone is presenting on radio and he says it's an on-air personality, it's not a journalist. So the focus is now, when news is focused on personality and not issues, there is a tendency for you to move from the line of news to opinion, from opinion to hate, because if you criticize someone on a basis, you can be accused of hatred.
Now, speaking of which, in the heat of herdsmen-farmers clashes, you know, a high-profile person actually said that hate speech and fake news has actually or have helped in fueling the herdsmen, you know, clashes and all of that. Do you agree with that?
Because I grew up in the southwest part of this country and I've traveled. Well, you see, you go, and I served in Kogi State, for example, and if you live in Nigeria, you go to Oshodi Market, you go to Ketu Market, you see people across, they don't know, no tribe, no region, they relate together. You know, it is the political class that divides us. And I've said it, playing identity politics. If you go to the neighborhood, you've seen some people that grew up in Agege, for example. Come to Agege Stadium when Kano Pillar is playing. You see an outside guy that has never been to Kano, that was born and brought up in Agege, that speaks Yoruba fluently, and you'll be shocked. You go to Onitsha or Aba, you see someone from the north giving birth to in Onitsha and Aba, and a Yoruba guy giving birth, speaking the language fluently. And until we take away that identity, we solve the problem. And some of us have advocated. One of the ways for us to build a nation is for us to take away state of origin and local government
like Rwanda has done.
And when we see ourselves as one, then there's no identity. We see ourselves as Nigerian. We don't describe ourselves, first and foremost, I'm a Yoruba man, then I'm from Southwest Nigeria, then I'm
Before I'm a Nigerian.
You see, three categorization, from a Yoruba man, from Southwest, then in Nigeria. So Nigeria is the third category in terms of identification. So we must build, for us to build a nation, one of the things we must put before the ninth legislative assembly, like Rwanda did. You know, it was like Rwanda did. You can't talk about ethnicity. You can't talk about ethnicity. You can't talk about religion.
So how troubling is it when you hear a high-profile minister say, look, this is why you should vote for this party, because you know what, down the line, in another 4 years, you'll be getting the presidency.
I don't care. Look, I've said this over time. In what way has Jonathan presidency helped an average man from Bayelsa? In what way has Obasanjo's presidency helped an average man? The roads leading to Ota, they are terrible. In what way has Buhari's presidency and Yar'Adua presidency helped an average man in Katsina?
Or in Daura, for that matter?
Exactly, in Daura, for that matter. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter where the president comes from, as long as he puts up policies and programs that affect the welfare of the general of the Nigerian society.
Because they are the president.
All this one that the presidency will come to the east, it will come from local government where the governors have come from. In what way has he helped them?
Exactly.
Good
question.
Good
and good way to
it.
hinge it.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Jide Johnson is the Deputy Provost, Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.